Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Can you all hear me pretty good?
Yes.
Can you hear me? All right, thank you. All right, we want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. My name is Star Wiggins, and I'm one of the military connected school counselors for Virginia Beach. And I have beside me my colleague, Amanda Yoder. We split the division. I have half of the high schools, and she has the other half. We are presenting tonight on college options for military students. Just as an FYI, tonight we're being videotaped by VBTV. So we're not going to take questions until the very end of the first section. We'll have about 5 minutes for that. And then if you're staying for the second half, we'll have a section at the end for question and answers as well. So just be mindful of that we're going to hold those until the very end of the section. Okay? All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so as I mentioned, there was two parts to the presentation. The first part, we're going to talk about the college application process, go into important people, timelines, SATs and ACT prep and scholarships. And then the second half will be geared towards GI Bill. So if you transfer that to your dependent, we'll talk more about that and about Yellow Ribbon as well. So you're welcome to stay for the entire portion, but if you do not have GI Bill benefits that you're passing on to your dependent, you're welcome to leave. We'll give a little break in between and you're welcome to leave at the end of the first section. Okay, just quick show of hands. How many ninth graders do we have? Parents of ninth graders. Okay. What about 10th grade? Okay. And 11th graders? All right, and finally 12th graders. Okay. So we have a good mixture of all grade levels. So again, I want to thank you all for coming out, and I'm especially happy to see that we have students here tonight. We appreciate you guys coming in and really investing in your future. So I just want to mention, if you haven't noticed yet, there is a military tab on the VB Schools website. If you go to VB Schools, you'll find there's information about student registration, school locator, and also information on how to contact myself and Amanda Yoder, as well as other resources such as tutor.com, and school liaison officers, and a link to VDOE. This slide here is intended to be a bit humorous, but basically in a nutshell is part of why we're here tonight. We've noticed that quite a few of our military service members who have enlisted have not gone the traditional route to college. And so in essence, their students or their children are first generation college students. So if you notice or recognize any of the terms on the left, but may not recognize all of those on the right, you may be considered first generation. So, as a part of, this is a very stressful time as you start to plan for your future, we wanted to highlight some important people that everyone should know within their school building. Number one, being the school counselor. We all know them. These are the people that are meeting with your son and daughter, developing 4-year plans, and also working on plans for after high school. They're also the person they're going to go to for transcripts, for scholarship information, for recommendation letters. Just a wealth of information is within that school counseling office. So they're not just there for, when something is going wrong. Please make sure that you use them as a valuable resource as they're prepping for the college application process. Also, the access advisors. I don't know, how many guys, by show of hands, are aware of what access advisors do? Okay, so a few, so that's good. Access advisors are available in each high school in Virginia Beach. They help with anything college-oriented. Anything college they will assist with. They're probably best known for their assistance with the FAFSA form. So they do help a lot with that, but they also provide scholarship information. They also set up college tours, college visits, and they will help students through the college application process. So again, please be mindful of that. All you have to do is contact the school or go to the school website and you can find out which days they are going to be in your building in that particular school. And you can always make an appointment to meet with them. So if this is going to be your first time doing the financial aid form, you can schedule an appointment with that person and they will help you and walk you through the process and file the FAFSA for you. Also TCC. Quite a few of our students, as we're meeting with them, have said to us that they're interested in starting at TCC and then transferring over to a 4-year college, whether it may be because their GPA is not quite where they want it to be, or perhaps they just, they only have 2 years of the GI Bill, so maybe they're going to start off at TCC and save their GI Bill for the last 2 years. And so there is a TCC career counselor that is a point of contact at each high school. So they are employed by TCC, but they will meet with your son or daughter, and they will talk to them about the programs that are available at TCC, about the transfer program and how, for instance, they may start off at TCC and be guaranteed admission to another college in Virginia. So it's a wealth of information again, and so we always, as we meet with these students, if they mention TCC or even as a backup plan, we will refer them over to that counselor. Parents, you guys are a valuable resource as well. Again, I thank you for coming out tonight. I know you guys are there. Your students wouldn't be where they are today without your help. And so we encourage you just to keep on it, keep on them, and be mindful of timelines, pushing them. Then, of course, our teachers, coaches, and mentors, they are important as well. Again, they're motivating the students just as you are, but also these are the people who are going to be writing letters of recommendations for your students, who are going to help them. So if they're working on essays, maybe the English teacher can review that essay and give them some pointers. So they're just as important as you guys are. And finally, Daryl Greenwell, if you had an opportunity, he has a table set out outside, and he can help you with the financial aid form as well. So if you don't want to go in the school, he's available. You just have to be able to have access on the base. So he's available at Little Creek 2 days of the week. He's available at Naval Station 2 days, and then he's across the street at the Higher Education Center on Fridays. And so you have his email address, and you can always reach out to him if you want to sit down and have him work with you on the financial aid process. He also has a wealth of scholarship information. Okay, and he's also in the back if you want to turn around, just look. He's waving, that's him. Okay, thank you. This is just a visual of when you should be applying to colleges, going to college visits, and taking your SAT and ACT. So if you can see in the orange highlighted, college visits is never too early to start that process. So we recommend that you start your sophomore year, and it's going all the way through your senior year, okay? If you can see in the red, we have underlined SAT and ACT. We recommend generally taking that your first time, your junior year. So right around October, it's the first time you can take it. Now, certainly you may take it earlier than that, but we generally recommend taking it your junior year because at that point in time, most people have completed Algebra 2, either in Algebra 2 or have completed Algebra 2. And a lot of the English portion of the exam or the assessment is going to be from English 11, so we encourage junior year. If you take it the first time your junior year, right around October through January, you then have the opportunity to look at your results, reassess, do some prep work, and then take it again that year. And then, if you're still not happy with your results or you want to push your score up a bit more, you still have that chance to take it again the beginning of your senior year. We're finding more and more kids who are waiting until their senior year to take it. That's not good. So again, push your kids, make sure they're taking it. And in my opinion, we always recommend for them to take both, SAT and the ACT. They can take either because they're accepted at most colleges. ACT is more of a testing you on what you've already learned. Okay, it's a content-based test versus the SAT is more logical reasoning assessment. So, you may find that your child may do better at one versus the other, but the only way to know is to actually take it. And also keep in mind that there are practice tests online. So if they're not exactly sure what it's going to be like, they can take full-length practice tests online to get a feel for which is going to be best for them. And then college application process, that's going to start at the beginning of your senior year. So for the students who are undecided, especially our younger students who may not really know what they want to do yet, we definitely recommend Big Future. That is a great resource because you're able to look at things that you're actually interested in, and they will recommend majors that match your interests. Also, if you're the type of student who you enjoy several things, they will put those things together to suggest a career that you can enter. So if you like nature and you like business, different things, they will combine those different interests that you have and go from there to recommend different things that perhaps they had never thought of. Major clarity, every student is able to create a free student account. And again, through this, it's like an assessment. So they take a personality assessment, and then they're able to go through videos to see what each career is about. And basically from there, based on what they put on their answers on the assessment, they are able to create a 4-year plan. So based on what they want to do, it will create a 4-year plan, kind of suggesting courses that they need to take in order to be ready for that particular career field. And again, it's free, so we definitely encourage students to take advantage of that. College Navigator, The next couple of slides, we're going to be going through some resources that students could use as far as a college search process. So College Navigator is a great resource because if you actually click on more search options, you can define your search. You can define it or search by majors, by the tuition costs, by do they have a sports team or not, things of that sort. So you can really narrow it down and pick colleges and narrow it down to the colleges that you're interested in. Big Future is another one. You can narrow that down by all the choices on the left-hand side. Type of school, location, is it a big campus, support services, diversity, all those things. And also My College Options will allow you to do the same thing. So these are 3 great resources to take advantage of. Okay, I mentioned earlier about the Access Advisor. They normally give out senior handbooks to all seniors. They have gone digital, so now the website or the handbook is available on this website. It is a great resource. It has information about a snapshot of all the colleges in Virginia, private and public. So it will give you information such as the size, the median GPA of students that are accepted, the median SAT, ACT score, just a snapshot of all the information you would need to know. And so you can use that, and it also has tips in the back of how to write a college essay, and also scholarship websites. There are so many sites out there that you just can't trust. Some are scams, and so they do have a list in the back of resources that you can use as you're looking for scholarships. So again, that is available online now, so you can take a picture of that. This will also be available online, this presentation, so you'll be able to go back and review it. Also, college visits. How many of you guys know that college visits, that our counselors within the schools set up college visits? They do. So we always encourage you guys to actually go to the campus, physically go, but we also have a counselor at each high school that sets up college visits. So throughout the year, they will come to the school, and the students can meet with the admission rep from that particular school. Okay? So that's going on all throughout the year, but I would say it's heaviest in the first semester. And that's open to all grade levels. So all you have to do is check the calendar, go by the counseling office and say, hey, who's coming this month? And you sign up. And you can sit and talk to that admissions representative. Also, we have College Night. College Night is coming up this year. It's going to be on October 30th at the Convention Center. We're going to have, I think, 200-300 people there. So it's a great opportunity for you to go out. Maybe there's a college there that you don't want to travel to. That's your chance. They'll be there. You can walk around and ask any question that you have. So again, we encourage you to come out, and it's open to all grade levels. And also, there will be blue and gold officers there. And then, of course, we encourage you guys to get out when you can. Make sure you're taking those campus tours when you can, okay? We can't say it enough that sometimes, you read online, you're hearing what your friend said or your mom went there, but you really don't know until you're there and you get a feel for the environment there. So we encourage you to take those tours. Then I have a little video for you. This here is a great website. If you can't make it physically, they have a virtual tour, and you can just go to the website and you can check your school to see if they have one available.
My name's Alyssa Dizon. I'm a 4th year, and I'm a Foreign Affairs major. I was able to feel really at home really quickly. Many of my best friends came from my dorm my first year, and because it was so great for me, I really wanted to be an RA. I want to help create this experience for other first years. Another added great part of it is getting to live in such wonderful living spaces at UVA, where we have so many amenities and things to do and great people to meet. UVA really prides itself on having a great residence life. Living and learning together is just as important as learning in the classroom. It's kind of like a living laboratory. Many of them have totally different backgrounds. And that's really, I think, where the best education at UVA comes from, is meeting these people. I tell all of my residents it's okay to not have it all figured out, and feeling not fear from the uncertainty, but empowered by the fact that you have so many places that you could go. Even though it might feel like everyone here has it all figured out, everyone's second-guessing themselves, and that's a good thing. So
that's a great website, as well as uvisit.com. You're able to take a virtual tour. I believe a lot of our colleges here, I was just online, I think for Christopher Newport. So all you have to do is go to the website, search colleges, and you can check to see if the college of your interest is available and you're able to take that virtual tour. Okay, deadlines. So I know you guys are aware of this, but again, stressing, making sure you're aware of college deadlines. So as you're applying, you know, it gets really busy in the counseling office, so we always encourage our students, make sure you're aware that you want to give at least 2 weeks notice when you're requesting a letter of recommendation or a copy of your transcript. Transcripts now are available, they request those online through parchment.com. So I guess some students think it's an instantaneous thing. You still have to go online and request it, but that counselor has to go in and verify and submit your transcript. So we're still asking that you give the counseling office at least 2 weeks notice to process that because they have a lot of students doing the same thing. Same goes with the letter of recommendation. If you know who you want to ask, make sure you give them plenty of time. Ask them now because guess what? Other students are asking. And we want to make sure they have time to write a really good letter and not a generic, hey, this is so-and-so, she has a 3.5 GPA and she's a great student. So you want to give them time to really dig in deep and write a good letter, and so along with that, you want to attach an academic resume. So how many of you guys know the difference between the different deadline types? Early decision, early action, rolling, and regular, by show of hands. Okay, a good bit, that's good. I'll just take a second to go over that. The main thing, early decision. So typically early decision deadlines are November 1st. Early decision is financially binding. So your students should only apply to a college early decision if they know that is their dream school, they want to go there is no other school they want to go to, and they're not even going to wait for a financial aid package. They know they're going, okay? So you can only apply to one school early decision. Early action, that is still, you're applying early, so normally November, December timeframe, but it's not binding. So if you know you have all your stuff together, you're pretty confident, you want to get in and you want to see, you can go ahead and do that, but you're not bound to that. So you can get your acceptance and you can still wait until May to let them know if you're going to go. So that's a great way to get it done and probably know before Christmas if you've been accepted. Rolling admissions, I know ODU is one of the schools that has that. They're constantly taking applications. There's no real set deadline. Again, we still encourage you to apply early because every school has a set amount of openings, but as soon as you apply, they will let you know usually within 4 to 6 weeks if you've been admitted. And then regular, they set their deadline. Typically between January and March is the deadline, but again, always apply early. These are the pieces of the college application. One being the academic resume. We talked about the importance of having that because as these teachers, coaches, mentors are writing your letters of recommendation, we want them to have a clear picture of that. The application itself, which is online. Your high school transcripts, which again now are available. You request those through parchment.com. Your test scores. So a lot of times when students are taking the SAT or ACT, they will have the score sent back to their high school. And so because of that, that score or those scores will show on the transcript. Those aren't official. So even though those are on the transcript, they have to have the official score report coming from College Board or ACT. So when they're taking their tests, ACT or SAT, I know you get 4 free college reports when you sign up. So when they sign up, they can pick 4 colleges to have it sent to, and they have up until 9 days after they take the test to go back and add the school. So maybe they need time to say, hey, yeah, I did good on that. I want to make sure the school gets my test score, okay? After 9 days, you have to pay for it. So it will be $12 to send it to each school. So please make sure they're aware of that. You have to send the official score reports, so you might as well do them while they're free. Then we have our letters of recommendation, and then most colleges will have essays. In some cases, they say optional. I say if it says optional, I say required. Always do it. And I had mentioned briefly before tutor.com. That is a great resource for military families. It normally is about $25 an hour for a tutor. For military families, it's free. And they will tutor in any subject area, and they also will review papers for you. So students are able to upload their paper, and within 24 hours, they will have it reviewed, and they will give feedback. So you can download the app, snap a photo, upload it, and that goes with any subject, math problems and so forth. So you definitely, if you don't know about that, have your student create a free account with tutor.com. Next here is a great resource for parents because it's a way for you to stay on top of your child. So you can actually track what they're doing. You can make sure that they are completing their task and they've submitted their application, they've done the FAFSA. You can see point by point what they're working on, and you can see what needs to be done still. So again, I encourage you to take a look at that website and sign up for that and have your child sign up as well. This is just an example of an academic resume. As you can see, the student has their GPA there at the top, SAT score, AP scores, any honors or awards, any extracurricular activities, work experience, anything you can think that you've been involved in since 9th grade included. Okay, some colleges will ask for this as a part of the application, but at the very least, this again will be something that you will give to that person that's going to write that letter of recommendation for you. Common App. Are you guys familiar with Common App? Show of hands. Okay. A lot of schools are using Common App, and it's just a way for you to shorten the process, so you're not having to re-enter the same information over and over again. Your background, your activities, your honors and awards, and so forth. You can do it all once, okay? And so these are some of the schools up top that are using it: CNU, GMU, Lynchburg, ODU, University of Richmond, UVA, VCU, and William and Mary. There's more. All you have to do is go to the website and you can check to see who's participating. But again, it's a great resource and it is a legit place to go. And this is Parchment, what I was referring to earlier for transcripts. So students are able to go to parchment.com, but we're telling them make sure you register for Parchment with your school counselor because they are going to give them an access code. And what that does is it ensures that they link their transcript with their school. Otherwise, if they do it on their own, it may not be linked back to their high school, okay? So if they're in 9th or 10th grade, they may not have heard about this yet, but they will. If they have any questions, they can see the counselor, but the counselor is the one that should be giving them that access code to set it up. So I don't know if you can see it really well, but this is just a copy of a transcript. Up top it has the student information, but at the bottom, where the bottom circle is where you're going to find the GPA, and it will include all the SAT, AP scores. Again, keeping in mind that even though it's going to be posted on the transcript, it is not official. There may be some scholarships that may accept the unofficial, but colleges are going to want the official. Yeah, on the right-hand side is where you have all the AP examination scores and the SAT scores. Again, these are our college application tips. Be mindful of deadlines. So for instance, there are some colleges that have a January 1st deadline. And we have students that will wait until the very last day before the winter break to try and come in and ask for a letter of recommendation or to get their transcripts set. You want to make sure, being that our last day before break might be, I don't know, December 22nd, for instance. So you want to ask at least 2 weeks before that if the application is due on the 1st. So you have to be mindful, even though it's that deadline, you have to be mindful of holidays and so forth, okay? Be mindful of what you're putting on social media. Some of these colleges, they are checking. So even though your page is set to private, they can still see that information, so always be careful. And make sure you choose your email address wisely, because that's what you're going to be using to communicate with the schools, okay? So it should be professional. If you don't have one yet, create one. And make sure you check it, because we've heard from students who have not been admitted to schools because they had an email, they never checked their email, and they were missing something and they weren't accepted. So again, now it's on you because they have your email address and not your parents. So we need to make sure that it's professional and they're checking it pretty often. And make sure you apply for financial aid early. So I have another slide later on, but financial aid is now open starting October 1st. So you want to make sure you're applying early for that. These are some free test prep resources. Khan Academy is the official SAT prep. It's offered through College Board. And so with that, students are able to actually link their score report from the PSAT and get personalized help on the SAT. Then we have tutor.com, which I mentioned earlier, which is free. March to Success, I believe March to Success and Schmoop, they all will help for SAT and AP testing. SAT, AP, and ACT, as well as 4 tests. So if you're going to use Schmoop, the code word is BEMUSE. So they're going to ask for that. You're going to have to type that in. This is just a cute resource. It's a way for students to work on their math and their English. So it's a great resource for them to just check in maybe once a day, go in and work on a math problem to kind of keep them up to date and make sure they're working on those skills to prep them for the SAT or ACT. So we want you to be aware of the hidden costs of college. So we know we have so much going on our senior year. Keeping in mind, like I said, it's $12 for those score reports. So if your student is applying to 8 schools, I'm talking to students now who are listing 10 schools they're applying to. So on average, if you're looking at a college application fee of $50, that's $500 just for 10, just for college applications. So be mindful of that as you're budgeting for this. And keep in mind that if your student receives free or reduced lunch, they can qualify for a fee waiver where they don't have to pay for the SAT or ACT. They can take it twice a year for free. Then we also have to factor in the admissions deposit and the housing deposit. So we just want you to be mindful of those costs that kind of creep up on you at the last minute if you aren't aware of them. And these are just the ways in which you can pay for college. It's upside down because we are encouraging our students to make sure that most of your money is coming from scholarships. Apply and apply early. Apply for as many as you can. There's so many out there that they go unused. So make sure you're applying for scholarships. If you have the GI Bill, you're taking advantage of that. Grants, of course, are more important because you don't have to pay that back. Work-study opportunities on campus. And then at the very least, student loans or parent loans. We don't encourage those as much because obviously for parent loans, those have higher interest rates. So we want to encourage you to take advantage of free money as much as possible. You only do that if you have to and you take out the very least, okay? For student loans, you have the opportunity to have a lower interest rate where you're not paying any interest while you're in school, and you can defer that. So if you're gonna get loans, minimize that amount, okay? And this just highlights a new FAFSA timeline. I pointed out that October 1st is when it's open. So I know that our access advisors are pretty busy during this time. They already have appointments booked up for the next week or so. So if you're interested in having assistance with that, make sure you reach out as soon as possible, starting October 1st. You can file it, and it's going to use your tax returns from 2017. I know they are already setting up their financial aid nights, so you, again, can reach out to them via email. You can call the school to see when the financial aid night is going to take place at your high school, or you can just ask to set up an appointment to meet with the access advisor. This is a great tool if you want to get an idea as to what may be offered to you. You don't have to put in any identifying information, just generic questions are asked of you, and then you can kind of get a feel for what you would be approved for, what would be offered to you. FAFSA Forecaster. And again, College Abacus, that's another great resource for you to get an idea of what the net price is going to be. So everything, books, tuition, everything you can think of, minus any grants you might be offered. So this is a sample of what we call a bad financial award letter. I don't know if you can see it, but at the very top, the net cost for college is $42,000, okay? So if you see in the middle, work study, this student was offered $3,500. And then at the bottom in the red, $38,000 was offered to that student in loans. And underneath that, the family is estimated to contribute $12,000. So the bulk of this money is going to be coming from loans, okay? But on the next letter, you can see this student, the total cost for tuition is $25,000 roughly. In the middle, this student was awarded a total of $16,495 in grants and scholarships. Their loans are going to be a total of $5,500 for the year, and the parents are going to pay an estimated amount of $5,500 for the year. So again, you can see the bulk of what they're getting is going to be from grants and scholarships. A small portion is going to be from loans. So that's what we are encouraging you guys. Again, try to get the grants, try to get the scholarships, very little loans if necessary. And then we also have, I believe, do you have in your packet a list of military dependent scholarships? Everyone see those in their packet? Okay. So we are giving those out as we meet with our students. Just keep in mind that at the very top we have a disclaimer that we did check the due dates, and a lot of those websites have not been updated yet for the year, so we'll need you to go back and check each one individually. And throughout the year, we sometimes get some new scholarship information, so we'll add to that list. But as we're meeting with our seniors this year, we're giving that to the students and encouraging them to look at each one to see if they're eligible for those. So in addition to what we've included in the packet, these are some other resources to check out for scholarship information. Always stop by your counseling office. The way they advertise their scholarships may be different depending on the school. They may have it online, they may have a newsletter, or they may be using Google, a Google document, or Schoology. Also, Virginia Beach Schools has a Scholarship Central. So you can go to this website on the right-hand side in the top corner, and they have information which will be updated. I'm pretty sure starting in October is when they start to add more things to that. So take advantage of that, as well as the PTSA and the Access Senior Handbook that was in the previous slide. For any students who are interested in ROTC or a service academy, what we just want to mention is that it's a great opportunity. You can enter as an officer, but you must apply early. They have early deadlines. We have handouts for students who, if you're interested, you can stop by and we can give you that information, or you can email us and we can give you a timeline of all those things of when to apply and what you need to do. Okay? We also have a Blue and Gold officer here. He works for Lansdowne, so I believe he's available. He's in the back. So if you have any questions, if you hadn't had a chance to talk to him, he'll be here for a few minutes. So you can talk to him about that. But also, just keeping in mind that if they want to join, either through the reserves or enlisted, we're encouraging these students to take the ASVAB. So a lot of the schools have started to schedule those. So you will need to stop by the counseling office and make sure you sign up for the ASVAB. It's free. And some of our schools are offering it as many as 2 or 3 times a year. So they can take it early in October, November, and have a chance to rebound, do some prep, and then take it again. So the Frye Scholarship, if there's anyone who's eligible for this scholarship is for those dependents who their parent passed away while on duty. For those dependents, they have 36 months of education paid for. So they can use that at any public college and will pay full in-state tuition. And if they decide to go out of state or attend a private school, they're now eligible for a Yellow Ribbon. So that is a program which we'll go into more detail about, but that is a program that will help to cover the cost that is not covered by the GI Bill at either out of state or private. And then for our disability education programs, there are 2 programs we want to make you aware of. DEA, that is if the service member is 100% disabled. Their dependent is eligible to receive a monthly stipend in the amount of $12.24 a month. And then for Virginia, they have a DMS DEP. So if the service member is 90% or higher disabled and it's combat related, their dependent will receive free tuition at a Virginia school. So Virginia Public College, free tuition and a small stipend along with that. We have anyone who still claims Texas as a state of residency? Okay. So just want to be mindful that there are some state education programs. So depending on where you enlisted, if you still have residency in that state, there may be some educational benefits to that. Your dependent may be able to attend school in that state, a public school, for free. I know Texas has one, California has one, so we just encourage you to make sure you look into that because there may be an opportunity for your child depending on the state. Okay? And I want to stress this. If you are moving in a high school, I know we have some 9th and 10th graders and even 11th graders. Make sure, if you're going to move, if your parents have orders and you're PCSing, that you let your school counselor know as soon as possible. We also work a lot with transition cases of students who are either coming or going, and we want to ensure that there is no loss of credit. So if you let us know early on in the school year, we can make sure you're taking the right classes. So for instance, you may want to take Russian, but we may contact that school that we know you're going to be going to, and they don't offer Russian. So if we know early enough, we can recommend and make some changes to your schedule. So you want to let us know as soon as you know. And if you're a strong student, so if you're a strong student and you are up for the challenge, we encourage AP classes over honor because AP classes are universal. They study the same curriculum no matter where you go, whereas honors is not. Some people weigh honors, some people don't. It's completely different based upon the state. So AP is always going to be better for you if that is a good fit for your child. Also, make sure you keep a resume of all your clubs, activities, honors, and so forth, because you're going to need that as you're applying to programs in your new state. Also, when you're applying to college or when you're writing those letters of recommendation. And because you guys, the students, you have to deal with deployments and moving a lot, we always encourage you, make sure you highlight that in your essay. That is a great trait to show that resiliency, so we want to encourage you, if you have that chance, that's a great thing to point out when you're writing your college essay. And these are some upcoming events. I'm not sure if you already have these on your calendar. The first is Navigating the Journey. That's going to be Tuesday, October 16th. And that's more of a resource fair of all of the things that we offer in VBCPS. So our gifted program, our academy programs, STEM programs, and so forth. And then College Night, I referenced earlier, that's going to be Tuesday, October 30th at the Convention Center from 5:30 until 8 o'clock. And then finally, Virginia Tech, they're using a new online platform to apply for their school. And so they're offering a parent night just to teach you more about that process. That will be Thursday, November 1st, if you're interested, from 6 to 8 p.m. And again, that's at the Convention Center. So please make sure you pre-register if you want to go to that.
All right, so now we're going to move into the part 2, which is the GI Bill, the yellow ribbon information. This is recent retirees and active duty families primarily. So the GI Bill, when we say it can be used for college, I want to be very clear that we're talking about all kinds of college, trade school, community college, and the four-year universities and colleges. So when I say college, please know that's a very big umbrella term. So some recent changes we've had under the Forever GI Bill, they've adjusted the housing allowance a little bit and the transferability. So do we have anyone in here that has not transferred the GI Bill yet? By a show of hands, please. Okay. I will not get into more detail for that right now since that's a small group, but we will take questions afterwards and we will tell you if you or anyone you know has not transferred it yet. If you are in that window between 6 years and 16 years, please transfer it when you get the opportunity because there are more and more limitations coming and then you don't get that opportunity. And currently those over 16 years can only transfer through July of next year. So please know that limitation just came down as well. Junior senior stabilization. We talked about moving a little bit earlier. How many of you are active duty with a 9th or 10th grader? Okay. So specifically for you guys, if you have not filled out your junior senior stabilization letter to get it into your detailer, please do so. The school has a template that we've already created for all of our schools that makes sure that all the information that they need is in that. That says when your student is expected to start junior year, when your student is expected to start senior year, and when they're expected to graduate. That gives you a strong ability to either extend your current duty station or move beforehand so that they can stabilize your child for junior and senior year. Needs in the Navy always come first, but it is a policy now. We finally caught up with the Army that there is an option out there to try to stabilize students. There are many in-state tuition opportunities for military families. So if you are still on active duty, that's who I'm referring to with these cases. Your current set of orders entitles you to in-state tuition in that state. Most of you, that would be Virginia. Some of you might have orders to North Carolina. Your home of record, and that's whatever is on your LES in the state tax box. It's not where you came in. It's the state that is on your LES, and they will ask for 12 months of your LES usually. So please do know that if there are any changes you need to make to that, it needs to be a full 12 months before you apply to college. And then your next set of orders. If you know you're moving sometime in that senior year, if that next set of orders is going to be on file by the time your child starts college, that will entitle you to in-state tuition in that state. So sometimes we know the next set of orders are going to be to Florida, wherever. You can use that as the next state that you'll be eligible for in-state tuition. And again, we'll take questions at the end of this section if you have questions on that. Once your dependent starts in-state at an institution, as long as they're continuously enrolled in the fall and the spring, doesn't need to be the summer, they're guaranteed to stay as an in-state student through graduation. That's federal law. I'm going to take questions at the end, so just make a note. I'm just waiting for some pictures I saw. Okay, so in the Veterans Choice Act, for those of you who will be retiring or leaving active service within 3 years of your child graduating, this is who we're talking about. For 3 years after you leave active duty, you are essentially deemed stateless for purposes of the GI Bill. That means every state is in state for your child when using the GI Bill, as long as they start within that 3-year window. So that sounds like a small group, but you can tell a lot of you are due at that retirement window, same time you got a senior graduating. So I'll repeat that one more time and we'll take questions later, but if you leave active service for 3 years, your child can use the GI Bill in any state, and it will be at the in-state rate. Okay, so that's the Choice Act. It's important to know for those families. And what we're going to cover on this slide is that they can ask that you get a license, that the student get a license in that state, but they can't say you had to have already had it for a year. So they can make you do some things, but they can't have that time limit. You're already qualified based on the law. So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty on the GI Bill. So the GI Bill, as we already heard a little bit ago, 36 months sounds like 3 years, but it's actually 4 academic years. If you do the traditional fall and spring semester, that's only 9 months for a year. The post 9/11 GI Bill covers tuition at the in-state rate at a public school, and we'll talk a little bit about private schools and out-of-state schools in a minute. It gives you a book stipend of $1,000 a year, and it gives you a housing allowance during the 9 months that the child is in school. So it doesn't cover a little break at winter, and it doesn't cover summer. All right, so there's a couple tips that we have to maximize your efforts here. We heard earlier, if you're going to use, maybe you have 2 children, you're splitting the GI Bill 2 years to each of them, 18 months. Maybe you want to do TCC for those first 2 years and pay out of pocket, and then both of them have the ability to use the second 2 years that are more expensive based on the GI Bill. So think about where you're getting the most bang for your buck whenever you're looking at who's using what and when. You can make adjustments at any time as long as they are listed and approved and you've transferred benefits to them. As long as you've transferred at least 1 month, you can then mix and match it later. So that's not critical. As long as they're listed, we'll need to figure out who's using what when until it's happening. So consider joining some of the organizations that support veterans in terms of FRA, American Legion. A lot of them have scholarships open to the general military population, and then their high dollar scholarships are for members. So something to think about when you're upping your child's ability to get scholarships. And then just a quick note, if your child is going out of the area for college, TRICARE eligibility is a whole mess. I cannot claim to speak to that, except to tell you, you need to talk to the TRICARE advisor at the base and make sure that your child's going to be covered under whatever program they need to be for where they'll be located. So transfer process. I'm not going to belabor this because most of you have already transferred based on the show of hands earlier. But basically, the service member fills out the transfer of education benefits, the TEB. The student then has to complete the VA form 22-1990E. That is where you guys are all at. In senior year, once you know where your child is going to school, so usually in the spring, you're going to fill this form out. We're going to explain what that looks like in a minute. The next step is that the VA certifying official at that college has to say the student's enrolled in this many classes, and it's going to cost this much, and then they tell that to the VA, and then the VA pays them. So we've already talked about, all of you have done the transfer of education benefits. So on that VA form 22-1990E, because they like to make it simple on us, right? So that form, you can either mail the paper form or you can complete it online in the eBenefits portal, which just last year was the first year that we've had high school students be able to do it online. Previously, there was a requirement that you had to have done it on paper if you didn't graduate from high school. Last year, they were letting us. If for some reason the system is kicking it back, then I will recommend that you go back to paper, but you should be able to do it based on what they told us last spring. So again, That VA form, once you send it off, they're going to send you the certificate of eligibility in the mail. Even if you do this online, this is coming in the mail. How many of you kids even know what mail is? So that will come in the mail right around graduation time for most of you, maybe a little beforehand, depending on how early you apply. That certificate of eligibility will need to get filled out and sent in with the school, so in this case, the UVA form. Each school has their own form that says, essentially, I'm using benefits that are military in nature. Those two forms will get sent to your school. Usually that's electronically. Sometimes they'll actually have you send it by paper mail. Once that's done, you need to make sure that you're working with your college or university to complete your course registration as soon as possible. This is really important if you need your payment on time in the fall. If you stay with the traditional freshman cohort and don't register till August, you will not get any money until November. So you need to do that course registration much earlier than a traditional freshman. The schools that see a lot of military families are familiar and have things in place for this, but if you're at a school that does not have a lot of GI Bill students, you're going to need to be a lot more proactive about that and or have a backup plan. And so once that college has that enrollment certification and they've sent it to the VA, somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks later, the VA will pay the college. That will pay your tuition to the college, but that's also when your housing payment will come and your book stipend. So again, if you're hoping for it, it may not come right in August or the very beginning of September. Mid-September is usually when the on-time ones hit, and then as late as November if you were on the later end of registering for classes. So where is your VA certifying official? They can be housed in some crazy offices. I love TCC, but their acronym is the CMVE, the Center for Military and Veteran Education. In some of the other places, Military Connection Center. Some places that don't have a ton of GI Bill students, it may just be in the registrar's office. But you want to make sure that you know how to contact the VA certifying official at your college, because that's who's going to answer your questions about, did I get certified? Why is my payment late? The VA has half the puzzle, but the other half is at the school with your VA certifying official. So some GI Bill tips we talked about. If they're sharing it, make sure you're using it at the most valuable place. ODU, for example, is a little over 10 grand for the year. TCC is closer to 5 grand. So where's your most bang for your buck? Obviously. And then take as many classes as you can handle. So a semester of benefits at the full-time rate is about that 4.5 months of benefits, but that doesn't matter whether you take 12 credits, which is full-time, 15, 18, 21 if you can handle it and your school will let you. So you can shorten your degree time and maximize your dollars and your months by doing that with what your student can handle, obviously. If you do a partial month, they do a partial load less than full-time. They do prorate. It's not your best value, so it is better to go full-time. And then just to clarify, because the myth does still circulate, if you have 1 day left of benefits, the veteran will get a whole new semester off of 1 day. That does not apply for dependents. Dependents are prorated, so if you have 1 month of benefits left, they will pay like a quarter of that semester's tuition and you'll have to come up with the rest. All right, so let's look at what this really looks like. So as an example, we have Virginia Tech up here. In-state tuition and fees, 13 and change. It's going to be paid directly to the school under the GI Bill. You don't owe anything if you're an in-state Virginia resident. Room and board, their estimate's $9,200. You get the monthly housing allowance of $1,224 out there in Blacksburg for 9 months, which is about $11,000, so that's going to cover your housing. However, your housing is going to come monthly, and some schools will allow you to pay monthly, but some schools are going to make you pay that up front. So in this case, some schools, if they don't have a payment plan, you may need to take that first semester of a loan, use that to pay the first semester, and then save that first semester's money and pay that towards the spring semester and continue to roll the money forward in that manner. And then your final semester would pay that loan off if you had all 4 years. And then the book stipend is $1,000. That's set. It's usually about $500 in the fall, about $500 in the spring. And that estimate is $1,185 at Tech. If you're in a nursing or a STEM major, it tends to be higher. Doesn't change your book stipend, but just know you may have more out-of-pocket costs in certain majors. All right, how many of you have heard of Yellow Ribbon? Okay, so we're going to talk about when that applies. That applies if you're looking at a private college or university or an out-of-state public college or university. They have limited number of spots. Schools don't have to participate. If they choose to participate, they can decide how many dollars and how many spots they have. This essentially is the school offering matching money for the VA over your GI Bill money. So if your GI Bill is paying $20,000 flat, then the school says, we'll give $4,000, the VA matches that $4,000. Okay, so now you have $8,000 over. So we're gonna look at a couple scenarios in a second. But the most important piece of Yellow Ribbon is to look at how many spots your school has and how many dollars they will give. It ranges from unlimited to 2 spots for the entire school. So, for example, at ECU, East Carolina University, which we see a lot of students interested in, you're an out-of-state student if you're a Virginia resident, so your tuition is $23,000. The GI Bill is only going to pay the in-state rate, so $7,000. So you have a $16,000 gap per year. So now most of the parents are going, wait, you can't go to ECU. So we say, well, what about the Yellow Ribbon program? Let's look into it. You would need $8,000 from ECU, and the VA would match that amount to get rid of that down to 0. And you can only use Yellow Ribbon when you have GI Bill, so it's an add-on to the GI Bill. So on the website, which is listed on your resource guide for Yellow Ribbon, for the GI Bill comparison tool first, it looks like this. So you can see that we have something like 1,400 students using the GI Bill at ECU. So a lot of students are using it. Keep that in mind. It's going to be needed to know in a minute. And then, are you an in-state student? So you're going to say no in this scenario. And over there, it's going to show you the same math that we came up with earlier. So the tuition for you is $23,000. GI Bill is going to pay that $7,000. You still owe $16,000. When you scroll down that page a little further, it's going to tell you whether they have a Yellow Ribbon program or not. So that's the first step. Do they have it? Yes. You used to be able to click on that page to take you to more information. You can't, but on the resource guide, you have a Yellow Ribbon website to check out. That will take you to this page on the VA website. You click on the state you're interested in. So we're looking at ECU, so you're going to click on North Carolina. It's going to bring up all the list of North Carolina schools. East Carolina University, campus at Greenville, undergraduate, and then you're looking, they have 40 spots. Now, they had 1,400 GI Bill students. We don't know who's in state and who's out of state, but the odds are those 40 spots are not enough to cover all the out of state students, okay? And then if you do get one of those lucky 40 spots, they will only give you $1,500. So if that gets doubled to met by the VA, so you now have 3,000, that's only 3,000 towards that gap of about 16,000. So it's still a pretty expensive scenario. But that's not always the case with Yellow Ribbon, because it's determined by the school. So for example, there's the final scenario. You still owe a significant amount of money at ECU as an out-of-state student, even if you get one of those rare spots. However, at a more expensive school, ironically enough, George Washington University, their tuition's $53,000, and this goes to show you why sticker price should not drive your decision on where to apply. The GI Bill will pay their max at $23 and change, so you still owe about $30,000. However, GW has an unlimited number of spots and will give up to $22,000. So they've completely covered your tuition at GW. Guaranteed, because the spots are unlimited. So your tuition's covered, your books, you get the $1,000 stipend a year, and your housing allowance is the $23.67, because it's based on the area that you're going to school. It's expensive in DC. So we've seen good and bad through Yellow Ribbon, so you need to have that awareness when you're thinking, is this going to help? All right, If you aren't sure how many months of benefits you have left, if you are trying to make changes online and having trouble, eBenefits website and phone number is there. That is the best place to get information about moving things around with the GI Bill. See some pictures. All right. Just a quick note, sometimes we hear from families that are military that they plan on starting at ODU and then they plan to go with their family maybe to Florida State in a couple years when they know they're getting new orders. Keep in mind that transferring high school is hard. Transferring credits in college is near impossible. A lot of colleges will not accept credits from other colleges on a one-to-one basis. They might only count for electives, so you can lose a lot of money that way. So kind of keep in mind that you maybe want to make a plan for your child to finish all 4 years here. Maybe you want to wrap them into an associate's degree and that will carry a little better because it's an entire degree. You need to explore options. Talk to your school counselor, talk to us, and play that out before you just think one college will transfer to another well. Military OneSource. How many of you have gotten lost on the Military OneSource website? I surely did. I learned one year from a presentation, though, that one of the things they have, if you know to look for it, is that they have financing a college education consultants. They have helpful information on their website, but they actually have, that's one of the areas of counseling you can call for. You can call and say, here's my scenario, help me out. What benefits are available? How would this look? What would be the best thing to use first? They'll help you through all of that. So that's a wonderful resource to know about.